What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Lakers Outsiders podcast. Gary Kester here with you today, joined by the same two guys I was with yesterday. Jacob Rude, I'm going to throw it to you first. How disappointed, Jacob, were you that Grayson Allen is not going to be a member of the Los Angeles Lakers?
Listen, more than liking Grayson being on the Lakers, I would have liked harassing you about it. So that was what I was most upset about more than anything. It really hurt, especially because he was getting so close, and I was starting to let it kind of sink in that he might get there. But I'll recover. We were this close, boys. We were this close.
I'll tell you what, man, if he was still on the board and the Lakers were on the clock, my heart was going to be pounding. It's like, no, just please no. Oh, shout out to the Jazz. I don't say that very often because I don't like them. I don't like their fan base. But shout out to the Jazz. You guys got it done today. All right. Also joining us today is Kyle Hartwick once again. If you guys missed it last night, we did a mock draft podcast, which I don't even want to look at the results because tonight's draft was really weird. Kyle kicked us off and had the first pick. Kyle, you got that pick right, though.
Yeah. That was really nice. That was probably, the easiest job I've ever had, being the Phoenix Suns GM with the first pick.
Yeah, I mean, I know we at least got that far. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, really interesting draft. Really interesting draft. That's obviously what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the draft in general a little bit, and we'll dive into the Lakers picks. The Lakers made 3 picks today. They started with Moritz Wagner out of Michigan. They went in the second round, kind of with a really surprising pick that I don't think hardly anybody saw coming, with Isaac Bonga out of Germany. And then with their second round pick, number 47 overall, they went with Svi Mikhailuk. Please do not ask me how to spell that. One of these days, I think that'll be an interesting challenge on the podcast.
Hey, how do you spell that, Gary?
I would fail miserably. I will just mash my keyboard, and I think I could probably be somewhat close. But that's your 2018 Lakers draft class. Let's dive into the draft in general. Jacob, what were your thoughts on tonight's draft overall? I mean, you're a Duke fan, so it was a good night for Duke players. Had a handful of players drafted, but what are your thoughts on this draft overall?
Good. Again, we're complimenting teams we don't normally compliment. Good job, Kings, drafting 2 Duke players. Although they did trade Gary Trent Jr. to the Blazers, I believe. But it was a wild draft. We kind of expected it a bit. A lot of trades, a lot of movement. Surprisingly, no actual players, I don't think, were traded.
No, yeah.
It was just a lot of picks being swapped and everything. But it was fun. I liked the Hawks draft. I think they got a ton of shooting with Trae Young and Huerter and Amari Spellman. I was big on Devontae Graham. I like what they did. And I like the Timberwolves draft a lot. Okogie and Keita Bates-Diop getting
fell a long way.
Yeah, getting KBD in the second round was huge. That was 2 first-round talents they walked away with. And a lot more bodies to play 48 minutes a game now.
Tom Thibodeau is going to be like, why can't I play 9 players on the court at the same time? I got to get these guys, over that 42-minute threshold. Kyle, I mean, what were your thoughts on this draft? I mean, I think the 3 of us kind of spent a lot of time kind of preparing for it. It's still, I think the more you prepare for it, the more you're surprised at how it kind of ends up being, just so many different things kind of come out of the blue.
Well, I mean, you see guys that, are supposed to be picked, either late teens, mid-20s, slipping all the way to 48 in the case of Keita Bates-Diop. Mm-hmm. You see guys getting picked way higher than you would ever imagine. There were some surprises where I just thought the fit wasn't right for some teams. For instance, I thought Herter would go to a team a little bit better than the Hawks. Like the Hawks are in a rebuild mode. I kind of expected him to go to like a competitor.
Yeah, for sure.
Overall, though, there was a couple teams that had some really great drafts. I think the Suns, other than having the first pick, really hit on some of their later picks. Elia Kobo, for those of you who have paid attention to my articles, he was kind of my dream guy for the Lakers to get at 25. He got picked by the Suns at 31, which will be great for them. There was just a bunch of really great drafts overall for guys. I've already seen the Lakers get good grades on their on their 25th pick in Mo Wagner. And some guys like Chandler Hutchinson to the Bulls got like an F. I was like, no, that makes sense for them. So, there's always going to be a bunch of discussion about whether or not guys deserve to go where they did. But only time is going to tell. We might not see some of these names in 3 to 5 years be, nearly as good as what we thought they were.
Yeah, that's always my favorite thing is, grading a draft class before they even, play a minute of game action in the NBA. I think that's always, completely reasonable to basically judge their entire career already before they even get their uniform. No, I mean, I really enjoyed all the movement that took place in this draft. There was a lot of unpredictability, and it started with the third pick. I thought the Hawks were going to take Luka Doncic, and the Mavs moved up and got their guy. And then, from there, just a lot of surprises here and there. Michael Porter Jr. fell all the way to 14 to the Nuggets. That was kind of surprising. And then, some guys like you guys mentioned, Keita Bates-Diop falling all the way to the second round. Robert Williams falling to the tail end of the first round. Just a lot of stuff. But I just want to, since I'm here, I got to shout out Chandler Hutchinson, first round pick in the NBA draft for Boise State. Couldn't happen to a better guy that works really hard, really good kid. Really happy for him, and I hope he does really well for the Bulls. I was kind of slowly starting to hope that he was going to actually fall to the Lakers, and the Lakers were the team that promised him, but falls number 22, the Bulls. So happy for Chandler. But let's talk about the Lakers. That's what we're here for. We are the Lakers Outsiders podcast, after all. First pick. I think you could say all these picks were a little surprising. I think the Moritz Wagner pick was probably the most surprising, or probably second most. There were two picks I think that were really out of left field. Jacob, you're obviously kind of a follower of Big Ten basketball, with Indiana and all that. What are your thoughts on Wagner as a player? And how surprised were you that the Lakers picked him at number 25?
I'll start off. Kyle told me to tell this story beforehand. A couple years ago, Indiana started off really well, imploded down the stretch, missed the tournament. And there was a game late in the season where it was basically a must-win game against Michigan. Indiana ends up losing that game. It was at home. There's a play that kind of epitomized the season. It's a GIF that's shared all the time now, kind of on college basketball Twitter. There's a Michigan player who shoots a three, and as it's about to go in, turns to run up court, runs over Coach Crean in the process, knocks him down. It was a three that put him up double digits. I don't know. Tonight I found out that player was Mo Wagner. Despite knocking over a team and putting the final nail in the coffin that year, I like Mo Wagner. I was surprised, I think, is how basically everybody at Lakers Twitter was. But to be fair, I'd seen a couple of reporters mention the name, and I kind of scoffed at it, just kind of thinking, no, that'd be too much of a reach at 25. But at the end of the day, he does a lot of the things that the Lakers are looking for. He shoots, he rebounds, provides spacing. He makes a lot more sense as a big man than some of the guys on the roster. Looking at you, Zubux.
Come on, man. Playoff Zoo.
Yeah. This pick, if anything, probably quickly numbered the days on on Zubac's Lakers tenure. I don't know. I watched bits and pieces of Rob Pelinka's press conference after. He said he's a great. He lights up a room. He said he really thinks he'll be a great fit with the core. A real, just kind of lively person, fun person. I think more than anything, this draft as a whole really solidified. The Lakers put a lot of stock into the workouts and how the guys perform, because we heard a lot that both Mo Wagner and Svi Mikhailuk killed their workouts.
Right.
I'm sure that wasn't the only reason they were drafted, but clearly that played a pretty big role because both of them ended up Lakers.
Right. And I mean, those workouts are huge. I mean, that's something that the general public, I mean, even, a lot of draft guys on Twitter or whatever, or, I mean, just national writers, a lot of them don't get to see these individual workouts and these individual interviews and stuff like that. So, that, I mean, I think it varies by team in terms of importance, but I think the Lakers have kind of stressed that stuff is very, is key to them, getting to know the player and kind of seeing what they're like and how they're going to fit in, not only, from a play standpoint, but a personality standpoint as well. So, Kyle, I mean, how do you feel? I mean, we talked a little bit about this before we went on. I think a lot of Laker fans are kind of indifferent on this pick. I think mainly because of the position that Wagner plays. How do you feel about this pick overall?
There's a couple of different reasons that I'm a little bit iffier on this pick than most people. Mostly because I wanted a guard. We talked about this last night. I wanted a guard at this spot, and Mo Wagner is the opposite of a guard. He's big. Because we employed Tyler Ennis last year. Like, that was the main reason. Like, I wanted somebody who could, help out Lonzo off the bench. And also, another reason I was iffy on this pick is I didn't think that Wagner was the best available big, because there was a slipping Robert Williams. There was even a guy like Mitchell Robinson who ended up falling into the second round that I would have been a little bit higher on. However, I've kind of resold myself into this for a couple reasons. One, I think that this pick is done with certain expectations from the front office that we are going to nail our free agency pitches and are going to need guys that are able to shoot off the bench, that, whoever the Lakers decide to sign can just kick it to. Another reason I think that this pick was made is because Rob Pelinka is a Michigan alum.
Michigan man.
But in all seriousness, I resold myself on Wagner just because he is a good shooter and he is a great personality. If you just watch his interviews, like he's a guy where Rob Pelinka said he lights up a room, and I could feel that. He was being interviewed at the Combine. I don't remember who was interviewing him. It was at the table, and I couldn't help but smile. Like, that guy was in the NBA now, and despite the school that he chose to go to, he seems like a really good kid, and I think he'll be a great fit for the young core.
Yeah, so I have a couple of things, I mean, with the Wagner pick. I like the Wagner pick. I feel like we do this dance every year with the Lakers, especially at the tail end of the first round. We've done it with Larry Nance Jr. We did it with Kyle Kuzma, where fans kind of look at this and as, Lakers draft a guy that we think they don't really need from a position standpoint. Yet they were, those two were both guys that came in and made a role for themselves and became, guys that entered the starting lineup at one point. Not that I'm saying that's what Wagner is going to do. I think ideally you'd want to try and get like a Brook Lopez back on a cheap deal and have Wagner off the bench. But Rob Pelinka, or there was the report, I think it was on the Lakers scouting department, or I remember reading about it relatively recently when they were talking about Kyle Kuzma and kind of the energy that he plays the game with, and kind of you just see it, just, the bounce in his step, that he kind of plays with. And Wagner's a guy that plays with a lot of energy and a lot of heart. And I think they really value things like that, guys that are going to come in and they're going to play hard. They're going to put the team ahead of themselves. And I think, you saw that with Wagner when Michigan hit the game winner against, who was it? Was it Cincinnati in the tournament? I honestly, what was it?
Houston.
Houston, that's right. I mean, you just saw the pure joy, on Wagner's face that, his teammate, the shot his teammate hit. And obviously, I get it. These are kids that, are playing on the big stage and getting a win. But he seems like a really good kid that is going to put the team first and, has, the right mentality, the right mindset to come in and to work hard. And I mean, I like his skill set, honestly. I mean, I think the Lakers put a premium on shooting. We saw that with 2 out of the 3 prospects that they drafted today, and we'll get to the other guys in a second. But Wagner can really space the floor. I think he was a 39% three-point shooter in his last 2 seasons with Michigan in each season. He can move really well for his size. I mean, he's a legit 6'11", and he moves pretty well, I think, offensively and defensively. He can kind of surprisingly put the ball on the floor a little bit. And I guess my biggest issue with him is his strength. His frame he's gonna need to fill out a little bit more. But my thing with that is I don't really consider that a knock on a lot of prospects, just because, I mean, a lot of these guys are so young coming into the league. When they're going up against grown men every single game, I mean, they're gonna have to bulk up and add strength anyways. That prospect like a DeAndre Ayton that doesn't really need to bulk up, that has a lot of strength, those guys are kind of, outliers in a way. So with Wagner, I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's going to add strength over time, and we've seen it with guys like Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma, hitting the weight room this summer and putting weight on and strengthening their core and stuff like that. So I'm a fan of this pick, and I've seen a lot of people say, oh, this means Julius Randle's gone. I don't think it means that at all. I think, I agree totally with Jacob that I think it means the end of probably Ivica Zubac. I doubt it means the end of Thomas Bryant, but I wouldn't be surprised if they moved on because they got a player that's kind of similar, I guess. But I do think Zubac's days are probably limited just because I think Zubac is a good young player, but I just don't think he fits with what the Lakers want to do in terms of the pace they want to play and how much they want to switch on defense. He's not really fleet of foot, and I think Wagner moves a little bit better. So, plus he can shoot. I mean, that's, obviously what the Lakers were looking for. So
there's a couple things that I mean, there's one that I want to add on to what you said. I'm 100% in agreement. We did this last year with Kuzma. We did it the year before or maybe 2 years before with Nance. We do this so much. I saw on Twitter tonight that, because I tweeted something to the effect of like, I tweeted from the account actually, so we're not going to slander a scouting department that hasn't missed a pick in the last 3 years. And the scouting department, to me, I saw somebody reply with like, yeah, I have faith in him, but I don't have blind faith. And I'm almost to the point where it's like, I kind of do. Like, they haven't screwed up, and they know these guys way better than we do. And I mean, to me, that's a big thing that I don't know what it's going to take for this scouting department to get the credit it deserves, I guess, get some leeway. That these guys, we may not like what we see from Mo Wagner, but I mean, it was the same thing with Kuzma last year. On his tape, there were concerns. We weren't seeing things. We didn't put enough stock into his combine performance and his workout. I mean, clearly, like I said, that they put a lot of stock in the workout and stuff. So I think that was a big thing that I took away from this draft. I think Kyle mentioned it. I tweeted it at the end of the draft. To me, the Lakers very clearly drafted like they were going to get LeBron James and or Paul George this offseason.
I was going to add on that. Go ahead, though.
Well, I was just going to say it was a ton of shooting, a ton of spacing. I'm kind of taking Bonga out of the picture for right now because I don't think he's going to be on the Lakers themselves. I think he'll be in the G League or overseas this year. But with Svi and Wagner, that's just so much shooting, and that's exactly what you need next to LeBron, and specifically LeBron, but LeBron and PG. You just need a lot of shooting to open up the floor. Both make a ton of sense in that regard. So to me, I thought it was very clear that they drafted with the mindset that they were going to get some big superstars this summer.
Right.
It's also worth mentioning that, like, and sorry that we're going on about this, but like mock drafts are great, and big boards are great and stuff, because it allows you to go out and do your own research about players that you might like. But there is a crazy amount of confirmation bias that goes on with mock drafts and people on Twitter tweeting who they like the team to pick, because then you just start to circle around these same guys. Like on Twitter, it was largely D'Anthony Melton, Mitchell Robinson, Elliot Kobo, like guys like that. But the Lakers might not like those guys, and they might like other people who do things that they want, done differently. And it was like Gary said too, I think it was Gary, that we don't see what the Lakers see 90% of the time. We hear the workout went well, or the workout went excellent, the workout went poorly, but we don't see the entire workout at all. So like guys like Zvi and Mo and Isaac, the Lakers just probably saw something where they're like, yeah, that's our guy. That's who we absolutely want. And like Jacob said, like the scouting department has done enough for me to have blind faith, where they have missed, I think, once in the past like 4 years. And that one person they missed on, Anthony Brown, like he's still playing in the league, even though it's the G League and on 10-day contracts, he's still around. So the fact that you're able to hit on that many guys in a row is insane.
Yeah. And I mean, even with Anthony Brown, I mean, I don't think anybody could have predicted that a guy that was a prolific shooter in college would get to the NBA,
shoot the ball entirely.
Yeah, all of a sudden can't make open shots. So, I mean, just one last point, I guess, on having faith in this scouting department and having faith in the front office when it comes to selecting players. Not every player is going to work out eventually. I mean, maybe all three of these guys turn out to be not great NBA players. It might happen. The NBA draft is such a crapshoot that it's hard to nail every single pick. But this is also a scouting department. I mean, that we're talking about. Last year's draft was incredibly impressive. I mean, you talk about Lonzo Ball with the number 2 pick, Kyle Kuzma at 27, Josh Hart at 30, and Thomas Bryant at 42. I mean, Thomas Bryant, we haven't got to see a whole lot, but a guy that has a lot of potential. But those other three, I mean, were 3 of the better rookies in the class. So I mean, just have faith. Like, be patient. We do this every year with young players. Be patient. Let them develop. Give them time. Just relax. I'm going to pull an Aaron Rodgers here, and I know both of you hate that guy. But just relax.
Just to bring this kind of back around to Mo Wagner, kind of put the final touches on that. I have a friend that covers Michigan basketball. I asked him kind of his thoughts earlier tonight. I mean, just to give you an idea of what he said, and he's watched him obviously for all 3 years he was there. Said he wasn't really sure if he can play or stay on the floor at the highest level because of his defense, which I think we all knew, but he can rebound right away and is an offensive talent. He said everybody focuses on his shooting, but he's a wing that hit a growth spurt and grew into a center-sized player. He's good off the dribble, great instincts, can score from pretty much anywhere. He said he thought Kelly Olynyk would be a pretty solid player comp. And basically he said he thinks he would fit really well playing next to stars. So all in all, I like I said, I wasn't crazy about the pick, but I'm 100% giving them the benefit of the doubt.
For sure. I'm excited for Wagner. Should be fun guy to watch in Summer League with his ability to stretch the floor and his offensive skill set and things like that. I think once he bulks up, I mean, and he adds strength, he could be a solid player. So All right, on to the second round picks. This next pick was sort of, I guess, kind of a mystery man. I don't think a lot of people had a lot of intel on him, which is kind of more proof that scouting departments do a lot more work than a lot of us do. Isaac Bonga out of Germany. We've watched some film on him tonight before we went on. And Kyle, I mean, I guess what's your first impression of this youngster out of Germany?
He is going to be impressive. Jacob mentioned earlier that 2 of the 3 guys that we drafted tonight are great shooters. He is not one of the 2 of the 3. His jump shot kind of looks like he is doing a half court heave. And in the 1-3 that I saw him make on the highlight reel, it was a banked 3. So there's a lot to unpack there with his jump shot. But he is an excellent free throw shooter, which is kind of an indication of like what his jump shot could potentially be. And they can maybe build on that. But he's a very intelligent and crafty guy when it comes to getting to the rim and getting shots up around the rim. Mm-hmm. He's also a great floor runner, which obviously the Lakers like to run the floor, push the ball up. He can also he's kind of like I think he's 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, mm-hmm. but he can play like 1 through 4. He's not quite strong enough for the 4 yet, so it'd be like 1 through 3. But he can do that on both sides of the ball as well. So he can push up the floor, do things well on the offensive side, off ball, stuff like that, and he also shows defensive potential. I really like the pick. I think that, it did come out kind of out of left field, and I don't think anyone was really expecting or had him like in their ideal situation for the Lakers. But I think it'll be a great pick, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it was definitely a pick that I was very, very surprised about, especially because I think and Jacob, you can add on to this, but I think when they bought the pick from Philly yesterday, we all kind of assumed they've got a certain guy in mind, or it's, they've got 3 picks. They're going to try and move up somewhere, right? There's going to be some kind of trade involved here. I think the potential for either a draft and stash guy or a draft and, put him in the G League kind of guy. That was an idea that kind of sailed over my head, I guess. Jacob, I mean, how surprised were you that they went this route with this pick with Isaac Bonga? And I mean, what are your thoughts on his game?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the same boat as you when they bought this pick. It's always kind of weird to trade for a pick a day before in the second round. So it made me, my first thought was that they were going to trade it. But as you said, it made me think that there's somebody they're targeting. Maybe they were thinking of trading up and wanted more ammunition, and then nothing kind of came about. As for Bonga itself, I mean, it came out of left field, like we said. I keep kind of deferring to guys, but a lot of people who know better than I. Trevor Magnotti, he writes for Illegal Screens. He's one of the best, probably the best guy I know on Twitter for overseas prospects. He said, I mean, if you look at Bonga, you think of Giannis. Like, he's a huge guy with huge arms, and he plays on the ball. Trevor said that he thinks the Giannis comps are lazy because, and you can see it, Bonga isn't that level of athlete, but he says they work for one reason, and that's he has no idea what position he'll play in the NBA. He's a non-shooting point guard basically, but he can defend. I mean, he has a 7-foot wingspan. He can defend probably all 5 positions depending on who's on the floor. There's just a lot of uncertainty. I mean, I have pulled up right here. I've been watching footage trying to get an idea of what kind of player he is, because I knew the name, but I knew very little about him. There's a lot of potential to like, and from what I've kind of read on him since we drafted him, he probably would have been a first-round draft and stash guy, but he didn't want to be stashed. He wants to come over. So that's why I said I think he'll probably be, if he does come over, maybe the Lakers can convince him otherwise. If he does come over, he's going to be I'd almost guarantee he'll spend the whole year in the G League because there's a lot of stuff they need to iron out. But he won't be 19 until November. So he's a young player. He has a ton of time to grow into his body. He's still real thin, real weak. He's still kind of learning how to use his frame. We saw that with Brandon Ingram, where it takes some of these guys some time to realize that they have 7-foot wingspans and can just finish around or over people. So it's stuff like that. I think the big thing, as Kyle said, his 3-point shot takes between 7 and 8 minutes to wind up. But I think the positive sign, kind of looking forward, is he was basically a 90% free throw shooter, and that's kind of, if you shoot free throws well, that's always kind of the factor that I take, that it's there, you know how to shoot, and you have a form that works. It's just translating that, stretching it out to the 3-point line. So he's not almost certainly going to be a guy that unless he's made just some insane strides. He's not going to be a guy that plays much, if at all, for the Los Angeles Lakers, but he's going to play for the South Bay Lakers. I think he'll be a lot of fun to watch, and it'll be a lot of fun to see him develop.
I think it's going to be a lot excuse me. I think it'll be very similar to the Thomas Bryant route that we saw last year.
Yeah.
A guy that, you kind of understand there's a lot to like from a physical standpoint, the physical tools, size, length, athleticism. The thing that jumped out to me on tape is, the potential versatility because of those physical tools and his mobility and things like that. And he can really put the ball on the floor and go to the basket. So that's a good thing to have. But like I said, I think it's kind of the Thomas Bryant route where it's, we got this kid that's 18 years old. He's super young with a lot of potential. We're just going to be patient with him. We're going to develop him, and we're going to see where he's at in a couple years, and I think that's kind of the same thing with Thomas Bryant. It's a guy that, is very easy to love. Thomas Bryant is very, very likable, and seems like he's, a really good kid, and he's going to, work hard, and he's got a lot of potential, especially in today's NBA as a big guy that can move and run the way he can and shoot the basketball. With Bonga, I definitely see why a team would be intrigued by him. If you watch tape even for a couple of minutes, you can see it. There's definitely something there. But as an 18-year-old, especially coming over, trying to come over to the NBA, it's going to be a process, to kind of get him acquainted to, I guess, like the style of play and things like that, and just kind of the speed of the game. But like I said, there's definitely something there to work with. So I'm actually very intrigued. But
he was
definitely the mystery man of tonight.
Oh yeah, very much so. He made the German World Cup team. So, for however much talent Germany does or doesn't produce, he's an 18-year-old that's on their World Cup team. So the talent's there. And like you said, just watch him for 2-3 minutes, probably not even that long, and you'll see why he was drafted. It's just going to be, this is kind of a long play for the Lakers. Bonga's not somebody that's going to be playing anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, he's definitely a project. But with a guy like that, a guy that's not going to turn 19 for a few more months, we could look at it 3 years from now and he's 21 or 22, and he could be really developed, and it's like, wow, this kid's still really young.
It also means he might not be done growing.
Yeah. So that's pretty crazy to think about. But no, definitely an intriguing pick. Surprising, but very, very intriguing. The last pick that the Lakers had, the 47th overall pick, which rounded out their draft class, Svi Mikhailuk out of Kansas. If you watch college basketball, if you watch Kansas at all this year, you'll know that this guy can really shoot the basketball. He is a sharpshooter that, is his specialty. Kyle, he's kind of interesting because he, played a full college career, but he's still a younger prospect.
Yeah, he just turned 21 11 days ago, and he was a graduating senior, which is just insane to think about. Most people graduate, when they're 22. Some cases, if you're red shirts, 23, stuff like that. But he's fitting right into the young core. He's younger than Kyle Kuzma. Like, that's crazy. But like you said, his nickname is the Ukraine Maker, because he's from Ukraine and he makes it rain threes all day. I was watching his tape just before we came on, and he can hit any type of three that you want him to. He can hit corner threes. He can hit off dribble threes, off the pass, contested. He can hit just about anything. And because of that, he becomes a threat to even drive in. Like, guys are playing him so tight that if he gets a good first step on them, he can, dribble past them, make them fall back a little bit, and then shoot a mid-range or even drive to the bucket and put it in. I also noticed in tape that he's a relatively decent rim runner. So when he's off ball, he can catch lobs. And we all know that Lonzo likes to throw the ball around the court. So he could be a lob threat, even though he's not really known for that.
He'll surprise you at times, for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of Zv's game for the Lakers is going to be off the ball. Like, I don't see him being a ball handler or even touching the ball for extended lengths of time, especially if we get guys like LeBron and Paul George, who are ball-dominant guys. He's just going to be kind of off ball, and then, if his defender cheats in to guard one of the guys that, like LeBron or Paul George or Lonzo even, then they can pass out and he's wide open, and he's going to make that like 40% of the time. So it's a great pick for a team that struggled with three-point shooting last year. I am really excited, and apparently he really impressed the Lakers in his workouts. So I think it's an A+ pick for sure.
Yeah, and another thing I like about him, every time I've watched Kansas over the last couple of years, anytime they were in a close game, it seemed like he was never afraid to step up and take big shots. He seems like a very confident shooter, which, I mean, usually translates to, success as a shooter. Those, guys that make shots usually take them confidently. So that's another thing I like about him. And the Lakers needed to add shooting. That was evident coming into the draft, and they made it a clear priority tonight. Excuse me. Jacob, I mean, what are your thoughts on this pick? I mean, like Kyle said, I mean, this is a guy that can really, really shoot the ball. And, I mean, is that alone enough to get him some playing time in this rotation?
Yeah, we don't have that. That was one of the things we probably lacked most last year, was just a guy to come in that I don't want to say necessarily defenses feared, but defenses had to respect their jumper and just kind of that gravity to pull guys out to the three-point line. The Lakers didn't really have that. Maybe, I guess, Kuzma. But other than that, there wasn't really a guy that defenses kind of scrambled when they realized that he was open. Svi, the last 2 years, IU and Duke have both played Kansas, and he's 100% the type of guy that you fear playing. When he's open, it's just kind of that, oh, well, that one's going in. Against Duke in the tournament, he actually struggled a ton, but I was absolutely mortified going into the game knowing Duke's playing a zone against Svi Mikhailuk. Fortunately, like I said, he struggled, but that's the type of guy he is. That shot's going to translate at the next level. I can almost guarantee it. But as Kyle said, there is a little bit of – he's not your typical kind of – I mean, he's not just a shooter. And obviously you can't be if you're getting drafted. He can read a closeout. If somebody's closing out too hard, get around him. He was a bit of a better playmaker this year, showed some of that chops. If he can do that, I mean, even something as simple as running a screen and roll, as Kyle said, he can hit all types of threes. you can't go under him on a screen and roll. And even stuff like that, something the Lakers didn't have last year. There weren't really any guys that ran a screen and roll that the Lakers or that defenses knew they couldn't go under on, which changes the way the defense has to react and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think Svi will get playing time right away with or without a LeBron signing, or a PG signing, really, because the Lakers just didn't have a guy last year that was a 3-point shooter. That was his specialty. I mean, Nick Young was there. We didn't really replace him last year. Svi can be that guy.
Yeah, and you need guys with complementary skill sets. You don't want a bunch of guys that do kind of the same thing, which I think at times, with like Jordan Clarkson, I think some of the skill sets kind of overlapped a little bit, especially when the Lakers did go to their bench rotation, and with Svi, I mean that's a guy that comes in and has a clear role, that is going to have a green light that says, we know you can shoot the ball, you catch the ball and you're open, knock it down. So having guys that know their specific role and can chip in different ways, I think is really important in team building. And, Svi is definitely a guy that, can certainly shoot the ball from the perimeter, but as Kyle kind of mentioned earlier, is a guy that can kind of surprise you a little bit when you close out too hard and can go by you and, shoot a pull-up jump shot off the dribble, or, there's been times where he's a legit 6'7", he's a good sized player.
I think Draft Express actually lists him at 6'8". The problem is he has a 6'4" wingspan.
Yeah, he's got the Gary Kester syndrome of very, very short arms. So, yeah, I mean, I like this draft class, honestly. I mean, I get the intrigue and kind of the mentality of adding shooting, and then with Bonga, I mean, you add a project that could pay off big down the line. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for these guys. I'm excited to see how they look in summer league here in a couple weeks. Yeah, should be interesting. But
I think it says something. I mean, we've said a lot about the front office and the scouting department tonight, so I don't want to kind of keep going on. But I mean, they knew that they needed shooting. It was something that they said they needed, and they go out and get two guys who were two of the best shooters at their position last year. And so kudos to them. I know Rob Pelinka talked a lot about how this was different than last year where they're drafting number 2 overall, and they see some of these. I mean, when you're drafting that high, there's a finite amount of people you're going to take. When you're drafting at 25, 39, and 47, I mean, it's almost a crapshoot. So for them to be able to kind of hone in on these guys and find a couple of shooters, kudos to them.
I also want to kind of harp in on the training staff because at the beginning of last year, I remember Luke Walton saying in a couple of different interviews that what they wanted to work on was defense. And then they ended up being a top half defensive team in the league last year. And with the players that we had, I was not expecting that, especially with the previous years of horrible defense that we had before. So with the scouting department combined with the training staff is working extremely well. And if we do land a couple free agents, big name free agents, this could be a very scary team that's able to build from within and also have these high caliber guys come in and make a run for the West, basically.
Yeah. No, free agency is going to, determine a lot, but they added some more young talent. Like I said, some complementary pieces, some guys that can do a couple different things that maybe some of the guys on the core now aren't great at already. So it should be fun to kind of watch unfold. But like we said, I think it's fair to have a lot of faith in the front office and the scouting department with these picks. Another thing, I guess, that we learned tonight, and this is a little off track, I just want to throw it in real quick. The Lakers were rumored to guarantee like three different prospects, maybe 2, but they were rumored to be interested in a lot of different guys. And I think all 3 of the players that were picked were never really mentioned. I will give a hat tip to Pete Zayas, Laker Film Room on Twitter. I remember seeing him mention Mikhailuk before the draft as a guy to watch out for in the second round. And
he was all over that one.
Yeah, and he was all over. correctly guessed or predicted the Kyle Kuzma pick last year too. So shout out to Pete, friend of the show. And we'll have more on Luke. We've got a couple of friends of the show that are Kansas guys. So we'll definitely have more on that in the future. And speaking of Kansas, we do know of one undrafted free agent that the Lakers have signed, Malik Newman out of Kansas. Jacob, you might still be traumatized from the game he had in the Elite Eight. But I mean, you saw firsthand, this is another kid that can really shoot the ball, right?
I was not ready for more Malik Newman when they signed him. He's streaky. That's for certain. I mean, I don't really know a better way to describe him. When he's on, he's really good. He was on against Duke and just destroyed that zone. Like I said, I was worried about Svi. He had an off night. Malik Newman picked it up, and Svi went 4 of 10 that game. Malik Newman was 5 of 12 from 3-point territory. He had 32 points. So that's kind of the
70.
Yeah, it felt like a million.
That's what it felt like.
But I mean, I don't know. He went on a bit of a tear. Gary, you'll appreciate this. Joel Berry is signed as an undrafted free agent with the Lakers. Shams just tweeted.
All right. Well, we're going to start another podcast here in a little bit, and we're going to talk about Mr. Joel Berry. Okay, no, go ahead.
Well, I'll just finish off because I know you're going to want to talk about him. But
yeah,
he got on a tear late in the season, but he's just so hot and cold. One game he'll score 27. He had a stretch where he scored 9 points, 1 point, 27, 7, 9, 24, 20. That's the type of guy you're getting. So if they can figure out a way to channel that and get all the good of Malik Newman, then he'll be an interesting player. He's a 6'3" combo guard, but I don't know. I guess it really just depends on what version of Malik Newman you're going to get.
Yeah, like you said, when he's on, he's really on. So just getting that level of consistency. Kyle, this will be kind of the last thing we touch on. What are your thoughts on Malik Newman? Or I'll talk about Joel Berry. I mean, I've watched the guy plenty. So thoughts on these undrafted free agent signings?
So I don't know anything about either of them, really. Malik Newman wasn't really on my board for the Lakers to pick. I was kind of circling in on a lot of guys that we kind of had confirmation or consensus bias on because they were just the guys that we were talking about. So Newman wasn't a guy that I had circled or lasered my focus on. If you want to get out the thesaurus that Woj was quoting from tonight. But I do want to mention this really quickly. Last year, the Lakers got Thomas Bryant, who obviously Jacob loves because he went to IU, and they took Josh Hart, who was on the team that kind of ended UNC's run. And this year we get Malik Newman, who knocked out Jacob's team, and then we get Joel Berry, who is from Gary's favorite team. So it's kind of like parallels, but you know,
I didn't ask for this.
Dude,
hey, neither of you asked for it. I'm just saying.
I'm not going to throw it to you ever again. Jeez.
I mean, they traded my favorite player last year, so it's whatever.
Last night he's pandering to both of us, and this night he's making us both angry. What the hell is that about?
I'm wearing my D'Angelo Russell shirt, so I don't know.
Get this lifelong Nets fan out of here, Gary.
All right, I'll touch on Joel Berry. I don't really have anything else to add to Malik Newman. I think you guys kind of covered it, but Joel Berry is, I mean, he kind of fits the build of what the Lakers, kind of did tonight. He's a guy that can really shoot the ball. He's a guy that if you leave him open, odds are he's going to knock it down from the perimeter. Developed into a really, really good shooter at North Carolina. I wouldn't expect a whole lot. As much as I love Joel Berry, I think he was a fantastic leader at North Carolina. The program really started to elevate once he got there. They just kind of got better and better every year until they won the national title a couple of years ago. And, he's just a really good kid. He's a really good kid. And but like I said, I wouldn't expect a whole lot. You know, he's definitely a guy that plays below the rim. You know, not a great athlete. Playmaking leaves more to be desired. Defense, same kind of thing. But he can really shoot the ball. He can really shoot. He can really score. You know, he kind of, I think, utilize that shooting threat to put the ball on the floor and get inside sometimes and kind of sneak by guys. But yeah, offensively, he can put the ball in the hoop, you know, and that seems to be what the Lakers really want. So he might just be a summer league guy, and that'll be fun. I'm stoked. I get to see Joel Berry play again in person in Vegas in a couple weeks. But yeah, that's the Lakers undrafted free agent class. Real quickly, I'm going to throw it to Jacob first. What's one? I mean, we haven't been keeping up with it, so these guys might be off the board. But what's one undrafted guy that you'd like to see the Lakers invite either to get on an undrafted free agent deal?
Well, it was going to be Trevon Duval, but on top of me having to watch a UNC player play for the Lakers, he probably just took Trevon Duval's spot for the summer league team. So I'm just really thrilled about that. I don't know if Raul Alkins has went yet.
Yeah, he did, but that's a good guy.
I know Gary Clark's went. Trier was the one I liked. I mean, you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point. Trevon Blewett, maybe.
Blewett's a good guy, yeah.
I know the Lakers brought him in. I think I wouldn't really imagine that there's going to be much. I don't know that we're really going to sign a high-profile guy because between Wagner, Svi, Josh Hart, probably Caruso, Thomas Bryant, now Joel Berry and Malik Newman, there's 7 guys right there that are going to get the majority of the playing time. And maybe Bonga. I don't know. That trade can't be official, as Kyle said last night, until whenever the moratorium ends, July 6th.
July 6th. Yep.
Yeah. So that might complicate things with him playing with the team. So, I mean, you're looking at 7 or 8 guys already that are going to be on the summer league team. So that's not a lot of playing time for everyone else. So I don't really expect probably any other big undrafted free agent signings.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see how they fill out this summer league roster with what's out there. Kyle, do you have an undrafted free agent target you'd like to see the Lakers go after?
Angelo Ball.
Oh my! We're done here.
No, because
this is his last
appearance.
Yeah,
I do want to say seriously though. I think we hit the draft out of the park. I don't really have any UDFA guys that haven't already been signed because I didn't do that deep of research past 47, and a lot of the guys that I had in that range didn't slip out of the draft. So in all seriousness, LiAngelo Ball's not a guy that I want to sign to a UDFA, and I don't really have anyone. Like Jacob said, it's kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I have one player.
Well, I was just going to add real quick. There's a couple. I mean, if we're talking about filling out the roster, Gary Payton II might join the Lakers. I don't really – the two-way contract situation with the Lakers I'm not really sure about because I thought Caruso and Gary Payton II were still under two-way contracts, but we signed Malik Newman to one today, so I'm not really sure about that. But you also have maybe Travis Ware. He's been around for a while. I don't know that he'll play in summer league, but maybe a guy like BJ Beacham, stuff like that. There might be a couple of those guys that played with the South Bay Lakers. That's usually kind of how it works. Teams are familiar with players and they bring them back. I would say that's probably how you're going to fill out the rest of the roster here.
Might even see like Nigel Hayes too and stuff like that. So,
yeah, some familiar faces. One guy I would like, and it's just a total homer pick, but I mean, a guy that I think, would be an interesting summer
We already
league
have
guy.
enough North Carolina players. We don't need Theo Benson, damn it.
Okay, you do not get to talk. We've got Mr. Duke boy Luol Deng over there clogging up the books. I can have 2 summer league invites.
Whoa. Let's not talk crap about Luol Deng. Come on.
Theo Pinson. Let's do it. Let's get Joel and Theo together. No, seriously though, Theo, I think would be an interesting guy to watch in summer league. I don't know if he'd make an NBA roster, just because he's a terrible 3-point shooter. And I mean, the Lakers obviously put a lot of value into that now. And I mean, most teams do. But Theo can kind of do everything else, which is so frustrating, I guess, about his game, is that if he had a halfway decent shot, he'd be a really solid player. He was a really good college player. He really stepped up this year in a more expanded role. Like I said, just does a little bit of everything. He can pass. He can play multiple positions. He was a pretty good defender at North Carolina, although I would have liked to have seen that be more consistent. Good athlete, could finish around the basket.
I hate to burst your bubble, but he signed with the Nets.
The Nets?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Nets are my second favorite summer league team. So
the one other name I forgot to mention, this could potentially, because the Lakers really only have Bryant and Wagner as bigs, Wenyen Gabriel from Kentucky.
Yes.
He hasn't signed anywhere. I forgot to write his name down. He hasn't signed anywhere yet. He was a 5-star guy that was a one and done at Kentucky. I was a little surprised he went undrafted. He has a lot of physical tools. Again, I'd be surprised if he goes to the Lakers because he probably wants to go somewhere where he might shine out a little bit more. But he's a stud. I think he could very easily be a two-way guy next year, which, like I said, I don't know the Lakers situation with that, but keep an eye out for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he was impressive in person here in Boise when Kentucky came up here too. Another guy. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he didn't get more draft love, honestly. All right. Well, we were going to do some questions. Basically, I mean, the questions that I have seen pertain to free agency and how this draft might affect it. I really don't think it plays that big of a role. I think the Lakers, I mean, it's nice to have shooting around, some of these key free agents that they're going to go after. But I don't think it's going to play a big role. I mean, the Lakers aren't going to say, hey, LeBron, we just drafted Luke and Moritz Wagner. So that means you want to sign with us, right? No, I mean,
it worked when the Heat drafted Shabazz Napier, right?
Yeah, man.
And the Cavs drafted reportedly LeBron's guy and Colin Sexton today. So, our chances are just devastated. But no, I mean, the young guys that you're going to sell key free agents on are going to be Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, maybe Julius Randle, hopefully. Those kind of guys, plus the cap flexibility, and that's the Lakers have their pitch ready to go. I'm sure they do. They've been gearing up for this for a full year. So, all right. Anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here and try and catch up on some sleep? This has been a busy week.
Don't fall for fake accounts. I just saw a fake Bleacher Report account say that Lakers were bringing in LiAngelo Ball for summer league. So,
of course.
Go Duke.
All right, well, you can cheer for Joel Berry in summer league.
I will cheer for the Lakers in spite of Joel Berry. This summer league team is really just trying to trigger me. Malik Newman, Joel Berry. Good Lord.
I love it.
I want Thomas Bryant playing 1-on-5 every game. Let's go.
All right, that's going to do it for us this time. The NBA draft is in the books. It's crazy how, we always get excited for it, and then it comes and goes really just in the blink of an eye. So, yeah, fellas, catch up on some sleep. I know we've been gearing up for this thing, but now we got free agency coming up. So we're going to have plenty to talk about leading up to next Saturday night at 9:01 p.m. Eastern time. That's when it all can start. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. But thank you to everybody that tuned in. We had a good size audience for this stream. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Lakers Outsiders. You can find us on Facebook, LakersOutsiders.com. And the podcast, please, if you'd like, subscribe to us on YouTube and on iTunes. And if you subscribe to us on iTunes, please leave a review. That does a lot of good things for us. We really, really appreciate that. So you can find us on all those outlets, and Podbean as well is where the podcast will be. So yeah, thank you to everybody that tuned in. Thank you guys for joining me and putting up with me this week. On to free agency. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So for Jacob Rude and Kyle Hartwick, I am Gary Kester, signing off.
Shout out Carlos.